Welcome, and thank you for joining Between Sessions with Justin and Chaley.
Just a quick disclaimer before we start. This podcast is for educational and conversational purposes only. It's not intended to replace therapy, counseling, or professional mental health care. We are sharing lived experiences and reflections, not prescriptions, and we encourage our listeners to seek professional guidance when needed.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week.
Our topic for today is social media, harmful or helpful for your mental health?
What is your initial answer to that? If it had to be like either or.
If I had to pick one,
Yeah.
I would say harmful.
I can understand that.
Yes.
Something we'll get into is thinking about like the different ages of this, but I think that there can be a lot of negatives that come with it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot on how we use it. If we're using it and being mindful of using it, I think then we can have it be a little bit more beneficial. Where would you like to start?
Well, my main population that I work with is kids, teens, young adults. And especially among teens, I feel like social media is so harmful to their mental health. Maybe there's benefits, but if I had the choice, I would just kick all the teens off social media to help their mental health because, well, we talked about this in our bullying episode, is it is an extension of the school day almost. So if they're being bullied at school, they're gonna be bullied on social media. But also, people are mean. I mean, I posted a TikTok a couple of years ago, and it was just me talking. Like, I wasn't really doing anything exciting. I was just talking, but I had like a gap in my teeth. So many people that I don't know commented on it, and all they commented was making fun of my teeth. Like, really bad. Where I was so self-conscious about it that like I went and got braces and tried to fix my teeth because I was inundated with insults about my teeth. And like I'm older, so my self-confidence is a little bit better than when I was a teenager. But I just think like if I had been a teenager and I posted like a cute fun video just talking about something, thinking it was like a really nice video, and then the majority of feedback I got was tearing down something about myself that I can't even help, I would have spiraled.
And thinking about that, it may not even have been something that was a pre-existing insecurity, so then it kind of develops that. And oh my goodness, if it was something that you've already maybe been hard on yourself about, that makes it even worse. It just drives it home and almost solidifies it of, oh yeah, that this part of me or this thing about me is not good.
It was something that I'd never really thought of.
Yeah.
Like I knew like I had a little gap in my teeth, but first of all, I didn't know it was that noticeable, and I really didn't think anything of it. And so when people started saying it, I noticed that I started really examining my mouth. Like, what else is wrong with my teeth?
Mhm.
And then I couldn't stop focusing on it. It's all I could focus on. I started like smiling with my mouth closed because I was like, my teeth are so ugly. I don't want anyone to see them. Yeah, I ended up dropping. I mean, how much are braces? Like I dropped a significant amount of money to fix something that I really wasn't even that self-conscious about beforehand.
I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable. And thinking about that, that was something that you had no control over. Then you gained control over it by being able to find a way to fix it. But really, kind of back to this piece of with a teen, there's only so much that's in their control, and that tends to be not a lot. I notice some of the things that kids are talking about being picked on about are things that are completely out of their control, like their financial status, where they live. The clothes that they wear is a really big one, and there's really limited control they have over
Mhm.
that too. This is something that we talked about more recently of there's such limited control that a kid or a teen has that it really can show up and be a detriment to them and really hurt their self-esteem, their confidence.
And there are so many keyboard warriors where, like, you would never say that to my face. If I was just sitting here in public talking, you would never just randomly come up to me and be like, wow, your teeth look jacked. But because of the anonymity behind social media, people feel totally confident just making these mean comments to people that they don't even know.
And I think that's another piece of it's someone that you completely don't know. And it's a way that you can express like hatred or meanness and have minimal conflict. It's low risk. And to them, they're not really putting themselves out there. They're probably never going to run into this person. Even if they are at school or things like that, they've already kind of made it known they don't like them. So someone's probably not going to confront them. I was going to ask, what do you think factors into that piece of like people being so much more willing to be mean or hurtful through social media? I know you hit one of like there's more anonymity, but like what else do you think factors into that?
I think just the fact that you aren't saying it to someone's face. You don't have to see their reaction. Like, you can insult someone and not see that they have completely just broken down crying because you hit an insecurity that was really sensitive to them. You don't see any of that. You're just a jerk and then you go on your way. You don't have to see that. Another thing is, I mean, back in the day, if you walked up and insulted someone, you might get popped in the nose. Like, you just don't know.
Right.
So, I mean, not that violence is the answer, but it kind of deterred
It was
some
higher
of
risk.
that. Right.
There was more consequence
So
for them,
this is
essentially.
very low risk. And I mean, we can go dive down, do a deep dive, but a lot of times it's because the person is self conscious about something themselves, and insulting other people makes them feel better about themselves.
Appreciate you bringing that part up because that's I was thinking that too. Like that definitely plays a role in it. Is when someone's unhappy with themselves, they want other people to be unhappy. It's easier for them to not care the way it might impact someone else. And I think that really shows up so much more through social media, through, kind of being the keyboard warrior of you can just express all the anger and frustration that you have. And right, you're not seeing that interaction or the impact that's having on someone else. So you just feel good about it, which we shouldn't feel good about that, but it can make us feel better in that moment of putting
Hmm.
someone else down. With social media and it being so common in teens, children, I mean, in adults too, but with adults, we tend to have a little bit more control, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more of an ability to say, like, okay, I don't need to respond to this. I think that's so much harder with teens and kids of almost having that need to respond. And this is something we talked about in the bullying episode, but like, we almost feel like we have to either respond or stay ahead of something, and it can be so exhausting.
Yeah, and then it turns into you are spending all of your time scrolling social media, searching TikTok, making sure nobody is posting anything mean about you. It takes over your life. And also another thing is, as adults, we can just block people. Like, I've had friends that have been mean and I'm just like, "You know what? I'll just block
Yeah.
you. I don't have to deal with you." But when you're a kid or a teen and you're in school with somebody, that's not always the best choice, because if you block them, you can't see what they're saying about you. So you can't get ahead of it. And then you show up to school and everybody else has seen their TikTok making fun of you and you haven't seen it. So now you're behind on it.
It almost feels like a trap.
It is a trap. Social media is a trap. But no, it is. So that is why, if I had to pick, I would say it is more harmful towards mental health,
Yeah.
especially in that age range of, older kids, teens, young adults.
So, like many people would say, like the quick fix or the answer is just like take it all away, take a phone away, don't use phones anymore. That's just not the world or the day that we live in. That's not realistic. So,
Mhm.
what do you think are some ways that we can maybe help try and find that balance of what can be healthier at that age and kind of maybe some protective factors?
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, as a parent, I just want to take everything away. Give me,
Right. Let's
you know,
eliminate it.
my
Let's not
my
let it
son doesn't have anything. He has like Kids Messenger, but if he did, say he was older and he had like TikTok, Snapchat, yeah, no, give me your phone. You don't need this. I'm getting you a flip phone. Like, that's my maternal mama bear instinct.
right.
But you're right. It's not realistic. You need that connection in order to essentially survive
Yeah,
in
but I think you're so
school.
right.
Yes. So, perhaps just talking about things that warrant a response versus things that don't. Because sometimes we see stuff and we're like, oh, I need to respond to that. And listen, some things they might require or warrant a response, but not everything does. Also,
Hmm.
taking a pause before responding. Because I've seen before someone will see, something not nice was posted about them And instead of taking a breath, they just go off the deep end. And now we're putting stuff in writing on social media that's like, you better watch your back, and then that's how things escalate.
Yeah.
So just taking a step back and saying like, okay, yes, they did say something awful about you. Let's take a breath before we just automatically respond.
Taking that from in-person conversation as well. That is such a beneficial thing to do is pause, take that breath before you're responding. It's almost, I don't want to say easy because by all means it's not easy, but there is a little bit more control of it being over social media. You can physically take that breath, set down the phone, take that minute before you're responding to be able to choose wisely of how you're going to respond rather than just responding out of emotion.
Yes, exactly.
Because we can put ourselves more at risk by saying the wrong thing
Mhm.
or just reacting out of emotion. We might give them, and this sounds terrible, but we might give them more things to base their.
Yeah, we're giving them more bullying
Yeah.
ammunition.
Yeah.
Don't give
That's
them more to bully you about.
right. Because when we're not thinking rationally, when we're thinking out of emotion, we're making ourselves more vulnerable in
Yeah.
that sense. Okay.
And also maybe just talking to your kids because we've said this a million times, they don't want to come to you. So maybe talking with your kids about when would be a good time to bring someone else in. Like, when does it escalate from, okay, they're just being jerks on TikTok to, okay, this is turning into some serious bullying. You need to loop an adult in.
I also think to add on to that one, being proactive in this. It's not a if it's going to happen, it's when. So
Ugh.
having that conversation.
Unfortunately, that's so true. I
Yeah.
hate that.
But so having the conversation so that they can be prepared, kind of being ahead of that ball
Hmm.
to, and it might happen in varying degrees, but this can be looped into like that online safety piece. So acknowledging that if they do have social media, even if we don't allow them to have social media, knowing that there are loopholes and still providing that education or that support if they do it. Because if we just say, well, they don't have social media, so they're never going to experience that. They might,
They have it. Like,
and we've closed that door. We haven't even allowed it to be a conversation then.
I hate saying this, but the more restrictions you put on them, the more ways around it they will find, and then they will keep it from you, and then they won't come to you
Yeah.
when things happen.
So then how do we find that balance between like, here's a free for all
Mm.
and locking it down like fork knots?
God, being a parent sucks sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I'm just winging this parent thing too, but I feel like no, not having a free for all. I'm a big fan of the Bark app.
Remember you said this. Yeah.
So I would utilize that. There's ways to get around that too, but I would utilize that and just, you know, let my children know how to use something appropriately. Yeah, and just I don't know. Come ask me in a few years when my kid starts getting into social media, and I will. If I haven't ripped all my hair out, we can talk about it. But yeah, because I have kids that just have free access to everything, and I'm just like, whoo, okay.
And then on the opposite side, I have some that are so locked down that then they're finding that really sneaky way to go about it. And then there's danger in that too.
I have heard some sneaky ways. Like, these kids are impressive. And, I appreciate when they tell me this because then I'm like, haha.
I had someone who had a 3D printed phone. And so they would turn that in school and keep the other.
That's hilarious. That's actually not the 3D printed, but it's actually very common that they'll take like a old phone. Because I'm pretty sure I have a random cell phone like under my bed. Like, everybody has a random cell phone. I've seen before where like someone isn't allowed to talk to someone and their parent is very strict and got rid of any messaging app that they had to talk to this person outside of school. Person downloaded Wheel of Fortune app and messaged them through a gaming app. Like, yeah, these kids are stinky. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. I think of me when I was a teen, like, okay, mom. But yeah, they're sneaky.
I remember someone had no way to communicate, so did it through the Spotify title, like a Spotify playlist.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. See, these kids are brilliant. They're going to rule the world one day.
So being able to, I think, have that open conversation, I guess that's the piece that I think about with it is having that open conversation, knowing it's going to exist and knowing at some point there's probably going to be challenges. So having that open door rather than them being so fearful to come to you about it that it's
Mhm.
limiting the support they can receive at all.
I just wanna also say, on the flip side, so we're talking about kids getting bullied, right? On the flip side, though, you
Mhm.
also wanna be open to the fact that your kid could be bullying other kids and being mindful of that.
Ooh, what's the thought on
Mhm.
that?
I mean, it's the same with, like, the Bark app, it will alert you if there's bullying going on, but what do you do if it's coming from your kid? Because the best way to get rid of bullies, it starts at home, is teaching your kids not to be a bully and identifying when it's happening.
And providing that education of what is harmful and hurtful. And I always love using this example of like, would you want someone to do that to you? And keeping it really base level. Yeah, they're going to roll their eyes and be like, well, no, it's not going to happen to me. Making it a real life situation, making it something that would actually impact them and walk through like how that would make them feel.
Mhm.
Try and build that empathy of how it might make someone else feel. I think that's where taking it that step farther and having it be a real life example rather than just like, well, you wouldn't want other people to treat you that way.
So this just happened with my son. I'm gonna call him out on the podcast. And it's so silly
Mm.
to me that I'm just like rolling my eyes while he's not looking. But last week he got in trouble for calling a kid by his full name because the kid was like, I don't like you using my middle name. Stop using my middle name. I don't want everyone knowing my middle name. And my son was just like using his full name, like, meh. So this week, Richard, my son, is upset because a kid in his class threatened to tell everybody what his middle name is. And Richard responded and said something not appropriate to the situation. So we were kind of sitting and talking about like, okay, what would have been a more appropriate response that wouldn't have gotten you in trouble? And then it kind of clicked because I was like, wait, weren't you doing this to somebody last week? It was the same kid. The same kid that he was doing this to last week turned around and did it to him. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, so we've come full circle. Do you understand why last week this kid was upset with you? And then, just as a side note, I'm like, your middle name is so boring and average. What do you care? It's not like I named you like Richard Artichoke. You know what I mean? Like, his middle name is Michael. That's like the most generic middle name. So, but that was a side note for another day. But yeah, it was just very interesting that it was like, huh. So you got to experience what you did last week to somebody. It didn't feel good, did it? Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that coming full circle, there are potential consequences for our actions. And I think we live in a time now that we may not always see what those consequences are or see them quickly for because we live in a very fast paced world. We forget about what happened last week. And that it showed that in a sense. So being able to understand what those consequences are of our own actions, I think is so important. So, thinking about when it is a kid and they're experiencing bullying or they are the one bullying, being able to have that conversation of it coming full circle for them and really how it made them feel.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I call my kid out. Like
Yeah.
we have to start calling these kids out. Like if my son does something, I will straight up say to him, "Do you know what that is labeled as? That is bullying and that is not acceptable." Like I call him right out for it. Cuz I don't tolerate that. And I tell him very honestly, I was bullied all through high school. We're not going to bully other people. I can tell you how low it made me feel. You will never be the cause of someone else feeling that way. Like, we will have issues. And so sometimes I phrase it as, what if when I was little, somebody did that or said that to me? And kind of saying it like that. Or now that he has a little sister, I would say, like, when your little sister gets older, how would you feel if somebody did or said that to her? Would you be okay with it? And he would be like, "No, I would say something or I would, tell him to stop." And I'm like, "So literally stop." So we've been phrasing it like that. Hopefully it's getting through to him.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to do that. Like make it more real rather than it just being this hypothetical thing because kids don't think like that.
They don't.
They think, "Well, it's not gonna happen to me." I mean, just as humans in general, we have this idea that what happens to other people isn't gonna happen to us.
Mhm.
So, gotta make it hit home.
But just calling your kids out and being accepting of the fact that like your kid might be bullying someone, it's not the end of the world. It's a teaching moment. But if you're going to be ignorant to it, it's going to be like if my kid is bullying somebody, like their parent can call me. I want to know. You call me or text me. Listen, he is not coming home to a house where we're like, not my sweet little angel. No, I've known this kid for 8 years. Like, you call me if he is doing something to your kid because we don't tolerate it. But I can't do anything if I don't know. I just wish all parents could have that mentality of like, we don't tolerate bullying. It's not how you get tough skin.
And I think that plays a role in like the social media piece is like there's a lack of understanding and a lack of understanding the impact that it can have. So it could be very easily like it's not that big of a deal. Just turn it off.
Just ignore it.
Yeah. It's not that easy.
Especially for kids. It
Right.
is for us. We're old. We don't care if some rando, well, we do because obviously I got braces, but, for the most part, it doesn't affect us as much.
Right. We can kind of decipher that and understand what has less impact. For a kid, that is the biggest part of their day.
Yeah. And we as adults have the ability to change things. Like I was getting made fun of for my teeth. I dropped like 6 grand and got braces. But like kids can't do that. Kids can't be like, hey, can I have this much to have braces? But okay, we have just spent a lot of time bashing social media. So on the flip side,
How can it be beneficial?
how can it be beneficial to our mental health?
I think finding those forms of connection, this is something that I definitely think we saw through COVID. I know with me working in like the mental health field, it gave a level of connection in a really lonely and isolating time.
Yeah.
Social media blew up. I don't remember what platforms specifically, but
TikTok blew up during COVID.
and it can be a way of connection. I think something that I have been really mindful in is making sure what I am seeing on my feed is healthier and is beneficial. So taking control where we can, things that are inspirational, having things that make us feel good rather than things that drag us in rabbit holes that make us question the world.
I go down rabbit holes so much. I know. But the guy with the dolphins, I'm going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So the guy that went down into the ocean for 3 days with the dolphins, you all know what I'm talking about. It happened and it's all over my TikTok. But also, not that specifically, but it can be a very good source of news and information that's happening because a lot of times it'll hit TikTok with people live streaming and posting before it even hits the news. I mean, my gosh, I find out so much stuff from TikTok before I see it on like a news source. I mean, God, like Charlie Kirk. That was straight on TikTok before it hit the news.
I had kids talk about how that was a traumatic experience
Mhm.
because it was unfiltered, uncensored on TikTok.
Okay, so positives and negatives. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. That's true.
Mm,
That is another negative is you have no idea what you're going to come across.
no. And you're just scrolling and it's that like, I don't want to see it, but I can't look away situation.
Mhm.
And so keeping on the positive piece is we do have some control over that, but the piece that I want to put into that where we can take control is like identifying what are good resources. Where is that information coming from? Can we fact check it?
Yes.
Because goodness, the amount of times that I've heard conversations or been a part, I've been guilty of this too, like spewing a fact that then I found out is completely not a fact. And I'm like, oh, I didn't look at that. Nope. So
Mhm.
being able to make sure that we're fact checking or being educated on this.
When I was pregnant, something popped up on TikTok that said there was like a mass listeria outbreak in like a ton of products all over the country. And I panicked. It was like a ton of vegetables and everything. I went into a full blown panic and I was already anxious during my pregnancy. So I'm talking like I was just sobbing that I had listeria. And then I took a second and I'm like, wait, I feel like this would be more known.
Yeah.
And then I Googled it. It was like from 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, well, wasted that mental breakdown, but okay. But yeah, just fact checking stuff before. Oh my God, that is like my biggest pet peeve is when people share stuff on Facebook and I just want to be like, this is so untrue. Stop falling for AI.
Yeah. And that is another, when we're talking about social media, being able to decipher what is the truth, what is not the truth, and being able to feel confident in that is gonna protect us in a sense.
Mhm.
A healthy side of it also is that it might give us a better understanding of other people experiencing things that we are experiencing.
Mm.
Where if we aren't able to talk about something in our family, if we're not able to talk about something in our small social circle, there is someone probably experiencing something similar to us, and there's words for it, there's a voice for it. So being able to find that and utilize it in a way that can help empower us.
Almost like breaking the stigma, specifically mental health related.
Mm.
When you see other people on Facebook, TikTok, whatever, talking about their own mental health, that is going to hopefully make you more comfortable with talking about your own mental health.
Because back to the one side of it is that we think that things won't happen to us. We also, as humans, have this really big piece of us that make us feel like we're the only ones ever experiencing something. And
Hmm.
we might be afraid to share what it is. So if someone breaks that wall and shares that they might have a similar experience to us, it helps us feel less alone.
Yeah.
I know one that is controversial is support
Ooh,
groups.
God.
We've talked about this. And
Okay.
social media can be so unmonitored. So being able to make sure we're going into the right social groups and right support groups to be able to have it be beneficial. Cause I mean, goodness, when we talked about the one with test anxiety and being in the wrong group, I could have spiraled.
I spiraled when
Yeah.
I was in a support group for people studying for the licensing exam, and I thought it was gonna be, like, tips and techniques, and it was just all people complaining about how they failed for the 7th time, and they're never gonna pass, and this is impossible, and we need to pass legislation so we don't have to take the I mean, it was
Wow.
I do have a good example of a support group, though.
Yeah.
Yes, can I share?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was pregnant with my son, I found out that he had a cleft lip and palate. I had no idea what that was. So my dumb Googled,
Mm.
right? Okay, I Googled and it brought up the most horrific pictures and it was awful. And I was like, my goodness, it was awful. And I found a group online that was a support group for parents of children with clefts. And I joined it and it was my saving grace
Really?
so much. Oh my gosh, because these babies are freaking adorable. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I guess like they show you horrific pictures on Google because it's like donate to the cause and stuff. So yeah, but I joined the support group and people are posting pictures about their babies, and so
And the success.
yeah, and they're so cute. And then, people are posting like before and after. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay. Okay. Like I started calming down and they posted different bottles that they used because you have to have special bottles. There's a few different specialty bottles out there, but that's where I found them was in the group. Oh my gosh, I learned. So I'm still in the group just to like be in it and in case anyone like needs support. And yeah, it was a great experience with an online Facebook group that was everyone all over the country.
I appreciate you sharing that. And that can provide a sense of community, especially if we are feeling isolated in our geographic community.
Mm.
Because I mean, I know, it can be really tough if we are in a limited support system in our geographic area that maybe someone directly related to us or directly within our contact doesn't know what we're experiencing.
Mhm.
To find that community can be so beneficial and can help us heal in
Yeah.
essence, from whatever it is. So providing that support, providing that connection, becoming aware and having an awareness and normalizing things that maybe weren't always talked about, breaking that stigma, those are some really beneficial ways of being able to utilize social media. Anything else that you can think of that would be a benefit from social media?
I think one of the most obvious is I have family all over the country.
Yeah.
And like I have a few cousins down in Florida that I don't see all the time. And we don't text, but I still feel incredibly close to them. And the only way we connect really is like commenting on each other's pictures on Facebook. And so it feels more connected. So I have family in California and just I have family and friends all over. And it's nice to feel that connection with them where normally I wouldn't, I wouldn't think to like text. We wouldn't text all the time. We're all so
Mm.
busy. But it's a nice way to stay connected.
Thinking about that we can have so many benefits, I want to also touch on like protective factors. So making sure that we're identifying what our use is going to be for the social media and sticking to that in a sense of if we want to make sure that we're doing it to connect with family and friends, if we're doing it to promote a business or a brand or something like that, utilizing it for those things and being mindful of that and being able to limit the exposure for the other pieces that we're not using it for. So if it is that we're really just using it to connect with family, making sure our profile is private. If
Hmm.
we are using it for something different, being able to be mindful of what we're posting so that we don't open ourselves up for the more negative sides of this.
I have taken a big step back on social media with what I post and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't really post a lot. I post really cute pictures of my kids because they're freaking adorable. But I found that I used to when I was younger post a lot more about like my relationship and like I would check in places and be like I'm on a date and blah blah blah. And now like if you were to just look at my Facebook, you'd be like, "Yeah, she hates her husband. They don't do anything together." Because I just never post pictures because I'm always
Yeah.
like living in the moment. But yeah.
So utilizing it what we want to utilize it for. And this is kind of funny for us to talk about it in a sense of like doing a podcast and having some level of involvement in social media, utilizing it for something in creating. I think is also a really beneficial piece when we're talking about social media is finding a balance of creating and contributing rather than just consuming. Because not to dip onto the negative side, but it can be consuming. If all we're doing is consuming, it can kind of mimic some of those addictive pieces of just constantly getting dopamine hits and then we're living less in the moment. We're not enjoying those real life experiences as much.
Yes, yes, because a lot of people, they do things just for likes and they'll post things for as many likes and views as they can get, where it's like, just enjoy the moment.
So being genuine, I think, is a piece that comes across as well when we're utilizing social media of, it being we're going to protect ourselves better by being true to what we're utilizing it for, whether it be creating or consuming or just sharing with the family members. I know that more recently there's been more of like a movement with social media, specifically like Instagram. I keep on hearing where there's teens accounts. So something that
Mm,
has more monitoring, that has more control for the parent and the teen to be able to limit the exposure of unhealthy things. And then
mhm.
it's even putting in limits of how much time you're spending on the app. So then it's creating healthier habits rather than it consuming our lives.
Roblox just changed their security as well. So
Mm.
you have to do an age verification.
Okay.
And if you're under 9, you cannot use the chat at all. If you're
Oh.
between 9 and 12, you can use the chat, but only with other 9 to 12-year-olds. Don't quote me. It's just what I have learned from my 8-year-old who is very upset he can't use the chat. I am not. And then I think like 13 plus, which is a good step, but like maybe make it like 13 to 17. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction.
So wins where there's wins.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if anybody has any ideas of how to like more safely use social media, or if we want to share any challenges that we've experienced that we've been able to overcome, please go ahead and share that with us.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening.